Hi guys, Senco Real Estate Investor here. Just want to do another video on the double close versus the assignment of contract. Now, double close is a little more of what I do now. Not that I don't do assignment of contract, but I just kind of, when I do deals and I try to structure deals, I always try and do it in a fashion that will be um, uh, that'll be conducive to a double close. Okay. Now, the reason for a double close, possibly over an assignment of contract, I know some people prefer them because, like I said in another video, assignment of contract is basically where you enter into a purchase contract with the seller, and you take that contract and you sign it to another investor, another person for a fee. So I know there are some states that frown upon that, or it's a legal gray area, and I've even heard of some states that it's not legal to do that without a real estate license. So one way you can solve that is to get a real estate license, but then again, that introduces a whole other thing, a group of things that you have to do. Or you can elect to do what's called a double close. Okay, now it's different than a simultaneous close, and that's something that I guess it's still done today, from what I understand. I don't see it very much anymore because most title and escrow companies just won't do them anymore. But basically, what that was is where you're entered into a contract to purchase a property from a seller, and then you enter into a contract to sell a property to an exit buyer, which is very similar to a double close. But you would essentially use the money from the person that you are selling the property to pay the seller that you're buying from. So most escrow companies, they kind of want two standalone transactions. So a lot of escrow companies don't do them anymore, and I'm not aware of one that does. Maybe there is one out there that does, but I'm not aware of one. So a lot of people do a double close, which is very similar to a simultaneous close. The major difference is that you have one escrow and you have a connected second escrow. The first escrow has to close before the second escrow can close. And it takes either you or what's called transactional funder to put money into escrow to close your transaction where you're buying the property from the seller, and then at the same time or just after that, as soon as you are the owner of that property, and you may be the owner for literally minutes or hours, then you sell that property to your exit buyer, and now they own it. But it's got to be two separate escrows. So some people gravitate more towards the double close than they do to like an assignment of contract. Okay. Another way to kind of get around the assignment of contract, and I've done this a few times, where I'll have a seller, or I'm sorry, an exit buyer in my case, who will pay me to get out of the way. It's to pay me to rescind my contract so they can go ahead and purchase the contract. Still another gray area, kind of another subject I'll probably cover in another video, but still kind of like an assignment, just a little bit different as far as verbiage. So, now what's nice about a double close, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more normal in that you're actually closing an escrow and then having the property titled in your name for a very short period of time, and then reselling it to another person. So that's kind of nice about a double closing. But one thing you do want to remember when you're doing a double closing versus a assignment of contract is that there are going to be more fees involved, because you are going through two escrows, number one, and also most transactional lenders will charge anywhere from what I've seen, like 1.75% of the transaction to all the way up to 3%. I've seen. So that's an extra added cost that you're going to have to take into account. So, for instance, if you're assigning a contract to somebody for a very low amount, let's say $5,000, that may not work depending on your deal, okay? So you're going to have to kind of take that into account. But it's a very good way to get around, or if you're just not comfortable doing an assignment, you can do a double close. Now, the other thing too is you're going to want to find an escrow company that is comfortable doing a double closing, utilizing transactional funding, okay? A lot of places will tell you, oh yeah, we'll do a double close. But as soon as you start introducing transactional funding into it, then they start getting a little squeamish, because most transactional funders, they're not going to close escrow, or they're not until they know that the funds for the exit buyer, those funds have been put into escrow also, okay? They get a little squeamish about that. They start talking about, oh, this is a simultaneous close, and it's, it's not something they want to do. Like I said, it's not illegal. It's just there are escrow companies that will not do that type of transaction. So you definitely want to check it out and make sure that they're comfortable with that. Now, there is one company called besttransactionalfunding.com, and you can go ahead and go to that website. It's a transactional funder that you can actually get a proof of funds letter right off the website for a real estate transaction that you're doing. I used to use them quite a bit when I was doing short sale flips. And then you can also, they do charge a fee for it. I think it's around $500. You can actually get an actual VOD, which is a verification from a bank that the funds are ready to go. So in some transactions, you may need that, but you're going to need to be pretty darn sure that you're going to be closing, or that you have a pretty solid, tight transaction, because you're going to be spending the $500 and in order to be able to get that particular documentation. Now, personally, I've never needed it. If I do need some proof of funds like that, I usually have some. If I don't have the funds myself, I typically can get a partner to do it for no money or very little money, or I'll just partner with them on the transaction. We'll both make a little money. So, anyway, just kind of wanted to expose people to transactional funding and double closing versus an assignment of contract. All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.